Hello everybody, my name is Oliver and my mission is to make you excited about organic Japanese green tea, and today what we're gonna dive into is how to brew a Fukamushi, a so-called deep steamed sencha. So some of you might know Fukamushi, what it actually is a longer steeped or so-called deep steamed sencha. So here we talk about the sencha, which is, as you know, green tea has to be steamed after the harvest directly, not to oxidize and going in the direction of finally becoming a black tea. So what the farmers do is that they steam it normally in a steam bath. This is the main method in Japan, which is used, and here normally a tea is steamed for around 30 seconds to 45 maximum 1 minute. But when we talk about the Fukamushi, we talk about the longer steaming, so we're going from Futsumushi to Fukamushi, and here in Fukamushi we talk about 1.5 or maybe even 2 minutes. So quite different, quite long the steaming process. So this is something which is already different, and in this process actually what happens to the tea is that the kind of bitter particles are more dimmed down, the tea gets richer and it gets more full bodied. So you have a less astringent or less bitter tea finally as an end product, which you can brew very nice and easy. On the other hand, what happens to the tea leaves is they get a little bit more brittle, especially the tops, so the tips, they break off a little bit easier, so it becomes a tea which is kind of with smaller leaves, and it nearly looks a little bit like it is low quality, which is not at all the case, but it's just due to the fact that the longer steaming softens the cells of the tea leaves than you have in the production process a little bit as an end product, a little bit more of a smaller particle leaf tea. So we can see it, for example, here I brought the Nuruki Shincha. So this is a Shincha from the south of Japan, and here we clearly see that this is Fukamushi style, very small leaves, and this is a typical example of Fukamushi, so nearly no long leaves. Some of them are a little bit longer, but we talk long, when I talk long in a Fukamushi, I'm talking about this length, so it's still quite small. So this a typical tea, so-called Fukamushi tea. So when we go into the steeping of this tea, so what do we actually, or what should we use just to have a proper Fukamushi? Important is that you know that when the tea leaves are smaller, there's much higher possibility that the tea or the kyusu, the teapot, starts to clog when you pour out the water. And this is an unfortunate situation when you clog the kyusu, so the openings to pour the water out. So the tea keeps on steeping and can even become then a little bit bitter. Even though we have a suppressing of the bitter particles, when you leave it in too long, you get a little bit more of a bitter part of the tea. So for example, here, this example here is a typical kyusu, and this one here typically is not so good to be used for Fukamushi, due to the fact that the surface of the holes, you can really see it's only in the middle here, the surface is not so big, so it can clog quite easy. What I suggest you is there are even some teapots which are especially designed for Fukamushi. But for example, here I have quite a simple example of a teapot, but you can see it like I have here, really the whole strainer goes around. So what is nice that actually from the side then the tea can enter, or the tea water can pass the a little bit clogging tea leaves, and it's much easier to pour the tea. So this is one important thing you should be aware of when you brew a Fukamushi style tea. So try to get a teapot which is a little bit broader, which has, if possible, a strainer all around, or even half of the kyusu is also very possible. So this is important when you go for the teapot. So we will put this one here aside, and we're gonna choose this one for tonight's session. Good. So what is also nice about the Fukamushi, so due to the fact that it is quite small in leaves, then you only have to steep it for a quite short time. So here we talk about 40 seconds. 40 seconds at, people suggest, between 70 and 80 degrees Celsius, so between 155 and 175 Fahrenheit. But what I do as well with the Fukamushi, just to also really get the most kind of soft and sweetest taste out of the tea, I take 60 degrees Celsius, so 140 Fahrenheit. It's just my preferred temperature. You do you. I just like to brew it at this temperature. And so then we're gonna go in, and what is also nice is, due to the fact that it is only 40 seconds, the steeping, you can also have, or your tea has a much low risk already, like the stringency is dimmed down due to the Fukamushi process, but then due to the fact that you're not steeping it for long, you even get less bitter particles in your tea, because the longer you brew, the more bitter or the more stringent your tea gets. Good. So let's go directly into this one here, and we take the water which I preheated and we pour in around 150 milliliters, so you can go up for 100 to 150. I use now around 5 to 6 grams of leaves. Already with 3 grams you get quite a good steeping. So we're just gonna leave it in now for these 40 seconds, and then we'll see how easy this one here is to brew. And I want to see as well, I brought today 4 glasses with me, and I want to see how long the Fukamushi holds, because you have a little bit of smaller leaves, and let's see if this tea really is able to maintain its taste for the 4 or even 3 steepings. Normally you say after 3 steepings with the Japanese green tea, the taste starts to go down, and I want to know, okay, how long this Fukamushi will last. So we're gonna pour in number 1. Good. So in terms of taste, quite grassy, a little bit of sweetness, sweet corn I get. A little bit of a flowery sunflower I have, but not the sunflower seed, but more like the real sunflower smell. So it's a little bit of florally taste. It goes a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit of a florally taste. Very, very nice. Good. So now, I want to pour in the water directly, but let's go and have a look with this one here. So you see also Fukamushi, a very beautiful green directly of the tea. It's a very nice, sweet, beautiful taste. There's a little bit of a grassy flavor profile. For Fukamushi, this one here is actually quite light. It's not so strong in umami flavor, so it's not so full, rich and round. It's a little bit of a lighter tea, quite a nice grassy, kind of a little bit of a vegetable, baby spinachy taste, but a very, very nice sweetness swinging with it. A little bit going in the savory taste, but not too much. So a very, very easy tea. No astringency, a little bit of a tingling on the top of the tongue, just slight, but very, very nice to drink. So let's see how number 2 is. So try to make the same amount, and we can see second brewing getting more intense. The best brewing is always the second brewing, for me at least. Fukamushi is the second brewing, is just the perfect one. Let's see in terms of taste. So you can see already the change of color. You can see how the second brewing is much, much greener than the first brewing. Let's see how taste evolves. Now we have a slight astringency now swinging with the tea, but it's more on the citrusy side. It's not really strong, because this Fukamushi really is able kind of to dim down this astringent taste. It's quite funny. When I drink Fukamushi, sometimes I'm like, okay, now the astringency should come, but it never really gets there. Good. So this is number 2. Still very sweet. A little bit of a savory taste. The grassy kind of this baby spinachy tone gets a little bit stronger. And not so much sweetness. Good. Number 3. Still very, very strong in color. Let's see. Good. Let's try this one here. Still quite flavorful. Baby spinach is definitely there. A little bit of sweetness, but not too much. It's much more of a refreshing note coming with the tea. But still very sweet. There's no strong astringency coming in. Baby spinach. Let's see in comparison to the second brewing. So in the third brewing, you have a little bit more of a citrusy flavor profile, but still the tea very strong, so absolutely comparable to the second. And the first one is mainly, it's like the sweetest note, and then it goes a little bit more in a kind of fresh cut grass, slightly citrusy, and here we have a little bit of a stronger citrusy note. Now let's go to number 4. So 3 already very, very easy. So the small leaves, they don't mean at all that the tea loses its power very fast. So you can really go. And even the 4th seems still very, very strong. Could even do a 6th, huh? 5th or 6th. So let's see. So terms of taste, color, very similar still. Now it's nice because there's much more of a sweet tone coming. So it kind of moved a little bit in these refreshing tones, but here I got a little bit of a sweetness coming back. It's kind of a florally sweetness. Very interesting, but still super strong. I was actually expecting it, the 4th, to really lose, but quite impressive. So all 4 here, I must say, very, very beautiful in terms of taste, flavor, also appearance, very beautiful. Here a little bit slightly green, then going really into this deep steeping, deep kind of green color, which the Fukamushi brings with it. And what is nice and what you always should consider is at the bottom you always see these sediments. You have it already in the first brewing, but you also have it in the 4th brewing. And this is quite nice because the Fukamushi, as it is a little bit more brittle, you have a little bit more sediments going into the tea and the tea water, and you're actually drinking it. It's a little bit similar to matcha. You can compare it to matcha, and here definitely what you have is that you even drink kind of solubilized material of the tea. For example, the chlorophyll, there are some vitamins with it, or even some fibers. So this tea is considered also as quite healthy due to the fact that you drink also just more of just the steeped leaf, but you also even get smaller parts of the leaves, which you then drink with the tea. And one important aspect of Fukamushi too. So what you can see, first one here, very short, 40 seconds, very nice sweet flavor profile. Then second, also very short, 10 seconds, more than enough with the other one. So number 3 and 4, you can do the same. I could even do a 5th or a 6th brewing easily with this one here. And it changes a little bit more in the citrusy flavor profile, and then also turns back a little bit more in the sweetness. I guess now the 5th would be a little bit weaker in terms of taste profile, because I have made a little bit the experience that if you kind of get a little bit longer, then there's kind of a sweetness coming back, because also the flavor goes down and leaves a little bit more space for the sweetness. So this, for example, an experience I had already with the bancha. So you can do it very, very easy. A very simple tea to do. You don't have to respect a lot, because 60 degree goes well. You can even go up to 80 degrees Celsius, so 140 to 176 Fahrenheit. So you can really play around with the temperature, and you can see a very, very beautiful tea. Good. So this was this for today. I hope you liked this one here. And if you ever have a question, do not hesitate to ask me. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And I guess I see you tomorrow, and wish you a good night, and see you, and bye-bye.